concentrate on the details.
Booker turns, shoots, fires. Shot won't go. Tucker the rebound. And that'll do it. It's over. The Bucks have done it. The long wait has ended. After a half century, the Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions once again.
Well, there it is. It's NBA season is all over. The Milwaukee Bucks are the 2021 NBA champions, and the Phoenix Suns have been eliminated. And normally here on the Scorching Hot podcast, we don't really like to dive into one team for the entirety of the podcast. And, we like to give flowers where it's due throughout the entire NBA landscape, each of its 30 NBA teams, past or present, and kind of break into, what's going on in the NBA and transactions that are going on, what each team can do to improve, what's going on like currently as far as each game goes, and, breaking down the best and sometimes the worst of players. This episode's a little bit different, where we're just going to be talking about my favorite team, which is, in case you've never listened before or you don't know me, is the Phoenix Suns. And it's been this way since 2007 now. Growing up in New England, I won't dox myself because, no. Growing up in New England, it's very easy to become a Celtics fan. It was very easy to become a Celtics fan when I started following basketball, because it was right when they formed the Big Three. The first year I followed basketball, they won their championship. And everyone was trying to convince me over. And I saw the short little white guy that was running around in this jersey right here. This is a youth medium, by the way. He was running around in those bright orange jerseys, Phoenix Suns. I thought that sounded cool. Short little white guy. I was like, that's me. Very relatable. So, it was kind of a match there. And it's been that way ever since. A couple years later, I ended up meeting him. Boom, right there. Nice little autograph. Hat in the background's autographed too. And, it's been a journey, to say the least, over the past 15 years. Going through, in my personal experience, going through mainly the downs of being a Suns fan. Obviously, before my time, we lost, right out the gate, lost a coin flip to the Bucks. So, you could say we technically have lost 2 championships to the Bucks. Due to the coin flip, losing Kareem. We got Milwaukee, who's not Kareem. Losing against the Celtics in the finals in the 70s, and then losing to the Bulls. John Paxson shot Game 6. Mario Elie shot in 95 against the Rockets. And then, the trials and tribulations of the 2000s, where we kept running into the Spurs and the Mavericks and the Lakers. Steve Nash getting checked into the scoreboard, and somehow Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw getting suspended. Jason Richardson forgetting to box out Ron Artest in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Fundamentals. You come back to bite you in the ass. It's been a ride. This year's obviously, with some of the events that's happened in the finals, it's kind of like PTSD for Suns fans. Seeing as, just falling, just losing on the biggest stage. But, even this past 10 years has been just awful, to say the least, outside the past 2 years. Just going through everything from the 2013 season, where we had guys like Shannon Brown and Michael Beasley, Luis Scola getting the most of our minutes, to the 3-point guard lineups of Isaiah Thomas, Goran Dragic, and Eric Bledsoe, to the 0-point guard lineups of guys like Isaiah Canaan and Mike James and Josh Gray and Tyler Ulis being inserted in our starting lineups, to the 50-point opening night loss against the Portland Trailblazers, and then this guy comes along and says that he doesn't want to be here on Twitter anymore, out of all places, to the former general manager that we had that got goat poop put in his office by our owner, Robert Sarver. Yes, goat poop. He wanted to find his goat, and the goat found poop. To the massive amount of draft busts, to the, like I said, lack of point guards, lack of head coaching. Everything kind of started to click last year. Your 8-0 bubble run happened. You got guys that came in, they wanted to be part of this team, that had the culture, like Kelly Oubre. And through that all, obviously, losing sucked. This by far has been the best and my favorite Suns team of all time. Easily. Easily. I mean, obviously, it's the most success I've really experienced because I can't really remember too much out of the Steve Nash era. I remember bits and pieces. This team right here, bar none, the most fun and my favorite, the best team I've ever seen as far as Suns go. Top to bottom, they're so much fun to watch all year long. And obviously, it sucks to lose on the biggest stage. It really does. But wouldn't have traded other than for a championship. I wouldn't have traded the experience for anything else, really. Just kind of being able to be this far, as this group of guys who have just gelled all year long. I mean, you have to give the credit where it's due to James Jones and Monty Williams. They deserve a lot of the praise that they've been getting. It's overdue, I think. James Jones beautifully constructed a team where a lot of people were criticizing him along the way. You went from giving up TJ Warren for basically nothing, and you turned that into getting Chris Paul. I can break it down. That summer, we get rid of TJ Warren, and you signed Ricky Rubio with that, and Kelly Oubre with the money that frees up, and you turn that into Chris Paul. I'd say that's a pretty damn good job. That's a pretty good job. Getting Torrey Craig for absolutely nothing. Great job. Campaign. Diamond in the rough. Trading for Cam Johnson and turning away your 6th pick for Cam Johnson and Dario Saric on draft night. A lot of people were criticizing that. He did a good job. He crafted this. He told Robert Sarver, stay out of this. I got this. And he was right. He built a great roster. And it's a great roster that's set up for future success. Not just this year. It's set up for future success. He brought in Monty Williams, and there's not enough you can say about Monty Williams. He is one of the most genuine guys in basketball. He's a great mind when it comes to the game, better than basically any coach we've had since D'Antoni. And he just brings life. He brings life and joy to the team. He's like a preacher for the young guys. He's not only teaching them, how to become better basketball players, but how to become better people along the way. Watching his course of events last night in the after the game, his post-game press conference where he got emotional, and then going over into the Bucks locker room after the game. That when you see a guy, or just not even just a coach, but just a person in general do that, it just shows like how special a person he is. The humility you have to to go up to the team that beat you, while they're soaked in champagne, and say, you beat us, you guys were the better team, thank you for this experience. Like, that is, you don't see that. You just don't see that. And not enough can be said about Monty Williams. He's a great coach. He has helped really develop these guys throughout the course of the last 2 seasons and really build them up physically, mentally, athletically, every sort of way. He deserves a lot of this credit. He didn't win Coach of the Year, but the finals berth makes up for it. And then when we talk about a group of guys that come together, I really wanted this team to win. I mean, obviously, when your team's in the finals, you want them to win. To see this group of guys, though, would have been really special, and I still think that a lot of these guys will be back next year. Every single one of these players that played impact minutes over the course of this postseason has been extremely overdoubted at some point or not in their careers. I mean, if you can take a look at just the bench by itself. I mean, Torrey Craig, he was doubted by his own former team. He traded him for cash. Cash considerations. Is a real MVP along the guidelines of the story, as you can see. But he played important minutes in these playoffs, and his former team gave up on him. He didn't even crack the rotation of the Bucks somehow. And he played some really important minutes down the stretch during this playoff run. Never forget Game 6 and Game 5, or not Game 6 against the Clippers. He completely locked up Paul George that game. He went out and was a man on the mission that game. We'll never forget that. Whether or not he comes back next year, we'll never forget that. Frank Kaminsky. I mean, everybody doubted Frank Kaminsky. If you're a Suns fan, you're not a Suns fan. Hell, Game 6, we lost the game, but he played well. He played well in Game 6. He had a couple games throughout the course of this year where he played well too. You know, I still don't think he's the most reliable option moving forward down the stretch, but he played well at spurts. Moving on, Campaign. Campaign was doubted by the Chicago Bulls, doubted by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chicago Bulls said that he couldn't even play at the NBA level when they had him on the team. They knew by the second practice. And now he was a backup point guard who, at times, outplayed Chris Paul throughout the course of the postseason. He's a special talent too. He did not take no for an answer. He clawed his way back in the NBA, and he's been rewarded by just how he's maneuvered. You know, instant spark off the bench offensively. He's got that hook layup or whatever goes, just a little sweep layup. Gets that to go every time, it feels like. He just uses quickness to his advantage. It's a joy to watch. It's been absolutely astonishing to see how far he's came, because I remember when we first signed him and I was like, I'm not ready for that. But he proved everybody wrong down the stretch, and it was really a key part in this run. Same with Cam Johnson. You know, draft night, everyone's saying, oh, the Suns reach. Hell, I said the Suns reach. We should have taken Brandon Clark. Proved me wrong. He proved everybody else wrong. I knew what type of player the Suns were getting, but he's blossoming into something special as well. You know, his shooting is lights out. The dunk on PJ Tucker will have that forever. And he's going to be a special player for years to come for the Suns too. He's definitely proving himself as a key component here. Jay Crowder was huge this year. Huge in stretches down the path this year. I mean, you know, obviously he was streaky as far as his shooting goes, but from a veteran leadership standpoint and from a defensive standpoint, he brought a lot to this club. He brought a lot of knowledge, and he showed to the young guys like Bridges and guys like Cam Johnson. He showed them what it's going to take in order to win, especially from a defensive standpoint, going up against guys like Giannis and going up against like Anthony Davis. Taking those challenges head on, you know, you don't get that very often from guys who are built like that. And yes, he sometimes does flop, and he gets he gets away with some stuff on the court, and he can be annoying as hell sometimes if you're playing against him. But if he's on your team, that's a guy you want to have in your corner every single game. You know, he's got heart, and he brought a lot of that to this team. This guy right here. That's right, Mikal Bridges. That's also autographed too. No need to flex. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I loved his game when he came out of Villanova, and he still brought it this year. He elevated his game up. A lot of people were saying, oh, he can't create his own shot. He's got to be sitting in the corner. He's nothing more than a spot-up shooter on offense. Played really well as a cutter this year. You know, we knew that last year, but he even gelled even further with Chris Paul coming in the mix. And he created a lot of shots off the dribble this year, too. A lot of people didn't realize that. A lot of shots off the dribble. That mid-range game really improved. You can see it by his point totals. He looked a lot more comfortable. Obviously, in the playoffs, he still had a little work to do where he was a little bit disoriented at times. But for the most part, really improved this year. Really improved. I'm super excited to see where he goes, because he got snubbed this year from all defensive team, and he's going to be in that running for years to come. Very excited to see where Mikal Bridges goes. Very excited. Like one of my favorite players to watch. DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton has been over-doubted ever since he came to the NBA by people that said, by his own team, saying that they should have drafted Luka Doncic over him. Yes, obviously Luka Doncic is a better player than DeAndre Ayton. Can admit that. But we would not be where we are without DeAndre Ayton. You know, he's an anchor for that defense. He proved this playoff run. He is more than just an interior scorer. You know, we're done taking those stupid mid-range shots that are contested. And even he's taking them, he's hitting them now. That's the thing. He's hitting those shots now. He's a much more smarter player. You know, much better defensively. He did a great job on Nikola Jokic in that second round. Did a great job on Anthony Davis when was tasked up against Anthony Davis. You know, obviously, finals was a little bit of a different story. Giannis kind of just got whatever he wanted. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But DeAndre Ayton really proved himself. Obviously, the consistency was an issue in the regular season. In the postseason, everything clicked. Didn't have the best finals run, but we would not be in this position without DeAndre Ayton at all. And I think all Suns fans can kind of agree. While Luka Doncic might be a better player, Ayton in the end I think is the right pick, and he still has more room to grow too. So very excited for him. He really proved himself. Chris Paul, he's 36. Everyone was overdown him. Going into this, he's old. What else has he got left in the tank? He's got a lot left in the tank still. He proved it. And after a couple of bad playoff performances, people are still ready to write him off. And he's going to prove people wrong again next year with this team. He's going to continue to prove people wrong because, he's one of the best point guards of all time. Yes, he has his faults in the playoffs, but we would not be also in the position without Chris Paul. He is a veteran. He is the leader. He is the one that's showing these guys the way. This is what you want to do to be successful. And now that he's made it to that finals, he knows what it's like. He's been just a go-to guy if we need a bucket all year long down the stretch. I'll never forget the game against New York where he just had clutch bucket after clutch bucket. Game 4 against Denver, he just got whatever he wanted. That closeout game against the Clippers, same thing. Just gets to his spot, does that little crossover in the mid-range, and pulls up. Bingo. Every single time. Like I said, some games just did not go his way in the finals, and sometimes the shots aren't going to fall. Still, we're going to war with CP3 every day. He's getting his fair share of blame right now. He had a couple of really bad games, but at the end of the day, we wouldn't be here without Chris Paul. The value that he brought to his team, insurmountable. And then we get to Devin Booker. And there are really not that many players that have been criticized as much as Devin Booker has upon entering the league. For years, we've had to debate against any fan base that Devin Booker is not just an empty stats player. Devin Booker is not an empty calories player. Devin Booker is a franchise cornerstone. He is a franchise cornerstone. You got to remember, this dude has been through the most teammates and the most head coaches out of any player for his age. He was put through some real shit situations where he was just thrown out there and said, work with what you got. And not once did he complain. He said he wanted to win, but not once did he ever force a trade out. Not once did he ever complain about the talent that was surrounding him. He put his head down and he worked. You can't ask for more. You cannot ask for more out of a guy like him. We would not be here without him. He is our guy. He is the franchise cornerstone of this team. Couldn't say more about him. People try to say that he was the next Lou Williams a couple years ago. Lou Williams, no disrespect to Lou Williams, but come on. Come on now. You can just admit at that point you don't watch basketball. He's so much more. People try to say he don't play defense. He played some excellent defense in this postseason. Excellent. People saying all he can do on offense is score. Dude had some of the best passing I've seen. He knows what to do with the ball. Yes, he got stripped game 5 by Drew Holiday. That play will forever live in Suns fans' heads. It will. But the value that he brings to his team night in and night out, you can let that slip. Because the clutch performances that he had, the 40-pointers in Game 4 and Game 5 of the finals, Game 1 against the Clippers, Game 6 against LA when he had 47 in the closeout game at Staples Center. He brought some of the best performances we've ever seen from a Phoenix Suns player. Ever. It just sucks that he couldn't get the job done in the finals. And it's not just him, it was everybody. But it just sucks we couldn't finish it off. But he has been, like I said, he's been dealt some shit situations, and he has not been adamant about trades once. He's put his head down, and he's continued to work. You couldn't ask for more. You couldn't ask for more. Shout out to D-Book, man. Shout out to D-Book. He is special. As is the rest of these guys. And like I said, it sucks to not win with these guys. We had a great series against LA, against that Lakers team. Game 3, you had Andre Drummond post up like he was LeBron on that sideline, and we returned the favor in Game 6. That felt sweet. And the sweep against the Nuggets, we had Chris Paul going off in Game 4. Series against the Clippers, shout out to the Clippers because they gave us a run for our money. Paul George. Paul George proved a lot of people wrong in this playoff run. I want to touch upon that because he deserves some credit. Same with Reggie Jackson. I don't know how many times I swore on my TV saying that Reggie Jackson turned into Michael Jordan. He's going to get himself a nice little payday this summer. Paul George and Reggie Jackson proved a lot of people wrong in this playoff run. Proved a lot of people wrong. Give credit where credit's due. And, luckily the Suns were the better team. They were the better team throughout the course of the series. Made to the finals for the first time since 1993. And then we lost to Milwaukee. There's no shame in losing to a team in Milwaukee, though. Because at the end of the day, if there was a team that I wanted to lose from that Eastern Conference, it would be them. I've always been a big fan of Milwaukee throughout the course of the years. I love Giannis. Obviously, it sucks that he just absolutely destroyed our team. 50 ball in Game 6. Absolutely absurd. But he's in a similar situation where he could have easily asked out after years of losing. Maybe not as bad as Devin Booker, but years of losing in playoffs. But he continued to put his head down. He signed that extension. They built around him, and it paid off. And, it's good for the league. It's good for the league that you can see guys like Giannis and Devin Booker not wanting out of their respective situations and being able to actually flourish at the highest level. It's so great for the game of basketball. It's not the super team mentality. It's not the hey, my team isn't performing as well as I would like to. Let me go team up with another superstar. It's not the easy way out. It's building a contender from the ground up and adding on. Chris Paul the situation doesn't apply to Chris Paul because he saw the Suns were building something special. OKC obviously going in a different direction. Same can be said with Drew Holiday. New Orleans is going in a different direction. Drew Holiday knows something special in Milwaukee, wants to be a part of that. They're not ducking from the grind. Neither of these teams were ducking from the grind from day one. They were here battling it out night in, night out. And, as a Suns fan, like I said, sucks to lose, but would not have wanted to lose to a better team in Milwaukee. They outplayed us in the finals. It's simple as that. I've been a huge fan of Chris Middleton, a huge fan of Drew Holiday throughout the course of their careers. I've always thought that they've been underrated and they've been overlooked for the majority of their careers. Kind of like a lot of the guys on the Suns, really. And a lot of people trying to say Chris Middleton is a closer. That dude is a bucket. And he proved it on the biggest stage. He did. Against great defenders, too. And, at the end of the day, you have to tip your hat off to the Milwaukee Bucks because they played a hell of a job. Shout out to P.J. Tucker, former Phoenix Suns. He would help mold Devin Booker to the player that he is today. And then he won a championship against him. Bob Portis was annoying as hell, but he did the damn job. He got a ring. I'm happy for the Bucks. Just sucks they had to come against the Suns because, when I found out that Chris Paul was traded to this team, I instantly thought, yeah, we could be champions this year. Javon Carter had that same sentiment in his opening press conference. How far can this team go? Realistically, champions. That's what he said. And he was pretty much right. We made it to the finals. We were contenders. And you're going to have your people saying, oh, the Suns final doesn't count. They couldn't make it because of injuries, this, that, the other thing. And to that, I have to say, please, touch grass. Grow some brain cells. And then you can start talking basketball again. Because at the end of the day, you still got to go out and you got to win the games. It's not the Suns' fault. The Suns just happen to stay healthy this year. It is what it is. And to what it's worth, the Suns weren't really healthy. They had all their players. But they had their fair share of injuries throughout the course of this postseason run as well. It just so happened they ran into other teams that ran into some more unfortunate luck. There's nothing you can do about it. Same thing can be said for Toronto's one. Same thing can be said for a couple of Golden State's rings. when they played against Cleveland, especially in 2014, 2015. 2016 was different. LeBron came back and won. You know, can easily be said for a lot of championships that have been won in the course of history. And it just so happened this year that luck had helped the Suns a little bit for once instead of bringing us down. But you know, obviously it wasn't enough, and it's too bad. It sucks. You know, last night was rough. I originally wanted to do this last night, but from an emotional standpoint, was probably the right decision to put it off till today, give myself a little more time to reflect. And you know, it's still gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for Suns fans for a little bit. You know, not getting the job done on the biggest stage, it leaves a little bit of a mark, especially in heartbreaking fashion in Game 4 and 5. Those were heartbreaking losses. Getting the ball stripped in the final closing seconds. That Giannis dunk is going to live. The Giannis block is going to live rent-free in my head. And I can admit that as a Suns fan. It's going to suck. But at the end of the day, like I said, I wouldn't want to lose to another team than Milwaukee. They deserve this ring. They played their hearts out. And at the end of the day, we're going to have more shots. The future is still bright as hell for the Suns. You tell me we still got Devin Booker who's 24, Ayton who's 22, Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges are 24 and 25. We got time. We definitely have time. Also, I mean, as somebody who deals with anxiety and who deals with a fear of what's to come, part of me is also scared that we'll never get this far ever again. And it's reasonable to expect to say that as a fan. But I'm also confident in my guys that we'll get this far. You know, this isn't a one-time blip. As much as people want this to be in national media and want some of their poster boys to be back up there, this isn't a blip. The Suns were the best road team in basketball this year. They had one of the best offenses of basketball. They had one of the best defenses of basketball this year. It was a complete team. It didn't shock me that we made it this far. It really didn't. You know, beginning of the season, yeah. You know, saying that, you know, champions is a little bit daunting, but by the time playoffs roll around, I could see the Suns make it to the finals. Maybe it's just because I'm an optimistic guy, and you know, it just happened to go our way. But you know, this is the beautiful thing about sports, I guess, too. You know, heartbreak is a natural part of it, and like I said, I tweeted out last night, heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for the guys that are involved because you want to see these guys succeed. And at the end of the day, they didn't get it done. And it's okay. It's a learning experience. A lot of these guys have never been here before. So it's something to build off of for the future. It's putting us out on the brightest stage and saying, this squad is capable of doing this. No matter what the given circumstances were. This is a team that's capable of big things. I truly do believe that Devin Booker, DeAndre and Mikal Bridges, hell, even Chris Paul, will deliver a championship to Phoenix before they depart. I really think that Devin Booker's going to stay a Phoenix lifer for the rest of his life. Same thing with Ayton, same thing with Bridges. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen, you know, especially in the NBA nowadays. You never know what's going to happen with certain players and certain teams. But this season has given Suns fans hope. The bubble run gave us hope. If you really think about this last calendar year worth of basketball has been phenomenal for Suns fans. Going from the 8-0 bubble run into this, couldn't have asked for anything more other than a championship. Really could not have asked for anything better. The absolute turnaround this franchise had, it's been inspiring. You know, especially when everyone's going through a pandemic, really just the outlook is bleak. People are battling stuff. For Suns fans, this was a true outlook and outlet to excitement, basketball getting away from what's going on in the world, and just being able to relax and watch your favorite team play it at the absolute peak and the best, almost the best, almost reaching that mountaintop and bringing home the glory. Part of what makes sports great, because you know, you go through this. It sucks. But as I'm saying it with a smile on my face, it sucks. But at the end of the day, we'll be back. You know, we'll be back stronger next year. Definitely some moves we can make in the offseason and be better. I do think truly we should just run it back. But I don't really want to think too much about the offseason because draft is next week. Still got to get some mock drafts going on. I haven't really taken the time to see who's good or not because my team's playing the playoffs. We'll be back, though. We'll be back. Suns fans, it's not over, but you can go ahead, grieve for your time, but then just look back. There's a lot of really, really great memories made along the way this year. I truly would not have traded it for anything other than a championship. But it's definitely something to build off of moving forward. I was definitely very grateful for each and every player, member of the staff, organization. Y'all did a hell of a job this year, and we're not done. Job's not finished. At the end of the day, job is not finished. You can click on the title and you think this be a meltdown. There is nothing to hang my head on this year. That's one of the first times I could say that as a Suns fan. One of the first times I could say that. We came real close this year. We did. Came really close. And it's nothing to hang your head on because that's major improvement at the end of the day. And all I can say is thank you. All I can say is to the players, thank you for giving us some dope ass memories this year. You know, I'll never forget this team. This is my favorite Phoenix Suns team of all time. And until next year, we'll be back. Like I said, we'll be back. So, Suns fans, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. Thanks for tuning in. For anybody who supported the podcast throughout the course of this year, obviously wasn't a whole lot, but for anybody who supported, watched this video, made it to the end of this, I appreciate it. Go Suns at the end of the day. We'll be back stronger, better than ever next year. And last time, thank you to everybody involved in the Suns. Great year. Peace.
From the corner, Morris gathers. Not that time. Booker comes flying in for the rebound. Booker uses the screen beautifully and flushes. Timeout Clippers. Devin Booker aggressively attacked.
And absolutely a ferocious throwdown. And Devin